Live from the Hotel Edison, Times Square Chronicles presents, I'm Susanna Bowling, and today my two guests are Tony Award winning and at the top of their class, but they met ages ago in a show that's coming to Encores this year. We are with Victoria Clark, who's Kimberly Akimbo and won a Tony Award for that, and with Maury Yeston, who wrote Titanic, Grand Hotel.
Nine.
Nine.
What's that?
Death
Takes a Holiday.
Yes, I love Death Takes a Holiday. He's also writing a new show about Brooklyn and the Brooklyn Bridge. We're talking Maury Yeston. Okay, so you have to tell me how you and Vicky really met, because I thought you met originally at Titanic.
No, I was a boy professor. I was about 11 at the time, and Victoria was a brilliant undergraduate.
What shows did you do at Yale?
I did a skit at Jones Harvey Schmidt and Tom Jones Review called Garden Song that David Loud directed and music directed. Oh, wow. David Loud is also a music major.
The great David Loud.
Yeah.
Tommy Kraska was there, who created P.S. Classics. Ted Sperling, who just actually, we just did an album together. It was my music, Vicky sang it, and Ted Sperling conducted the orchestra.
Right. Is this the Super Songs?
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this.
So there were a bunch of us that were all music majors when Maury was head of the department.
A boy professor.
When he was the boy genius professor. Right. And that's where we met. And then you were, about the time you left to do 9, right?
I left to do 9. I'd been there for about, at that time, I was the DOS. I was the Director of Undergraduate Studies.
Yes.
And ran the joint. And one genius after the other came in. Yale was, actually, there still is a Yale mafia. I think that's true. All of us who were there then still constitute the Yale mafia, and there must be 30 or 40 of us.
Wait, you're part of the mafia?
The mafia, the Yale mafia on Broadway. Yes, that's right. We plot and scheme together. We work together. We support each other.
How did you not end up in 9?
I was too young. When they were casting, I was a senior.
She was a senior in college.
I would have been. I didn't want to be an actress back then. I wanted to be a director. So it never would have occurred to me to contact Maury to audition.
And I'm going to talk about that later too, because I've seen some of your doctoral work and I loved it.
And I took a year's leave to do the show from my position.
For 9.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then what happened after 9? How did Titanic come?
Well, Titanic was many years later.
Oh, Phantom! I forgot Phantom.
Yeah, but after 9, I was able to afford not to teach at Yale anymore. That was my day gig.
So, how did Titanic come about?
Well, Titanic was much later.
Right.
And of course, I had done 9, I had done Phantom, and I was thinking of something to do. And then most musicals come from terrible ideas. Right? And, a crazy Fellini movie that nobody understands, right?
I thought that was genius.
Well, now it is, but not before I did it. And I thought, I was fascinated by the story of the Titanic. And I thought, everybody knows it's the most famous word in the world. And I started talking about it, and everybody said, "You're crazy. It's the worst, but J.G. people died." And I thought, okay, and then I thought more about it, and musicals are supposed to be elevating. And then it was, around the time when things were happening, and I thought, let me think about this, and I thought, well, look, it's the British Empire, right? They ran the world. They were the wealthiest country in the world, and now did the most business, and they were the maritime emperors of all the world. They had the biggest fleet, they had the biggest battleship, they had all of the trade. Britannia rules the waves. And it was, 1910, 1911, and so not only that, but they had invented the steam engine, they were also the technological forefront of the world. So with their power, their hegemony, and why would they not have thought, you know what could happen that's bad? Well, a ship could sink. So why don't we take our magnificent cutting edge British engineering and apply it to our Navy and build a ship that will not sink to save and protect human life. And I was thought, how is that any different from Jonas Salk? I want to get a vaccine so you won't get and save the world. And I thought, that is a noble something to achieve. That's a dream, a positive dream. And I was thinking about it as I was, it's 1986. As I was thinking about it, just above my head one day, the Challenger space shuttle blew up. At that moment, and Sally Ride was killed, and what were they doing there? They were there trying to enhance and increase human knowledge and a positive dream, and you know what? At the apex of our engineering, and yet it happened. And I thought, we haven't learned that yet. But things happen like that at great risk because that's how we advance forward. And the story of the Titanic and that great dream to save life is still something worthy that I want to write about. And I started writing it. And that's how I wrote it. And that's where that came from. Everything that was positive about it. And
you can actually hear, now that I think about the score, you can actually hear the technology in it. You can hear, like,
the wheels turning.
The wheels turning, yeah. And that's how the show opens with that. You know, the forefront of human engineering. That's what we should do that. And so, yes, we failed.
Stoker's song.
And we failed nobly. And then I learned all about it. You know, I did an incredible amount of research. And all of that is in it. And it's an elevated dream. You're uplifted by it because the dream is so elevated. And it pushes us to go forward and say, all right, nothing is ever going to be perfect, but if we don't try nobly, we'll never accomplish anything. And so that's how, and it's done everywhere all the time. I mean, now it's in Japan, or it's in Germany, or it's in Korea, or in a college.
My friend
In a couple
Roger.
of months, it's going to be an encores.
That's right. It's going to be.
I know. I'm so excited.
June
Andy
26th.
Kaufman directing. It's going to be great.
She's
Now,
wonderful.
I have a question. Did you write Alice Bean? That's who you played, right?
Yes.
Created Alice Bean.
Did you create Alice Bean?
Alice Bean.
No.
Yes.
Alice was already Alice.
You say that, but don't forget, Alice Bean was a name that I picked up somewhere. I think probably from the.
Coffee.
No, it was from the passenger list. Oh no, I did all kinds of research. So I wanted every name to be a person who was on that ship. Oh, absolutely. And I knew she was in the second class, right? Second class passenger. And so you must understand, a writer just makes things up. Okay? You write a line, you write a song, you write, and it's a clue, right? An actor takes those words on the page and those notes on the page and creates a person from it. It's the relationship of a writer and Alice Bean is only some words I wrote and some notes I wrote. Victoria Clark created Alice Bean with her creativity.
The reason I asked though is because as a composer, lyricist, writer, do you create roles with people in mind?
No, because I was up there near New Haven, Connecticut, teaching or whatever, and I'm just sitting in my little room, and I said, I'm going to write Alice Bean, and then I wrote a song for her, and I decided what she was like.
I danced with the first class?
Yes, of
No, that
course.
came later.
No, that came later, but it was.
The pattern.
It was okay.
The first class pattern.
I needed to give the first of all. There's so much information about Titanic. You know, it's like a dictionary or like an encyclopedia. How am I going to get that? I said, all right. Well, what about a second class passenger, just like my Aunt Arlene, God rest her soul, my wonderful Aunt Arlene from Fairlawn, New Jersey. She was that person, right? If she would look and see who's famous, what's going on there. So, Alice Bean could be my person who would know all about all the big stars and all the famous millionaires.
And so you could get them all out
So
through
she'd
Alice.
be there with her husband Edgar, who's just embarrassed by her because and she goes, oh Oh, look, her name is Madeline. She's John Jacob Astor's second wife. She's only 19 years old. She's married to a man worth over $100 million and 70 years her senior, whatever she said, because she reads all the gossip. And by doing that,
She's the original Gossip Girl.
yes, she's an adorable girl. We all know that. We all have an Aunt Darlene who goes, oh my God, look at that. There's so-and-so. And so there's Alice, and which Vicky created out of old cloth. And once that happens, Alice Bean is created for all eternity and all time. One of the great things about being in the theater is that we get to do something, make something up, create something from ourselves, and it's there for eternity in the characters that are on the page. It is the
Other
greatest.
people come along and pick
Yes.
them up and do what
Yeah.
they want to do.
Oh, then they do their thing, right?
Right.
Can you tell us about your audition for Alice
Oh.
and how it came about?
Well, Richard Jones was our director, and he knew that Maury already knew me. I didn't know Peter Stone, who wrote the book.
Yeah.
God bless Peter. And auditioning for Richard, in my case, was very simple. It was a 10-minute conversation. We just talked. I didn't sit in front of him. I didn't read anything.
Strangest man in the world? Strangest man. One of the strangest men.
Strange, but brilliant.
Wonderful.
Visionary, I would say. But a couple of other people that he had worked with, Henry Stram and Marty Moran, knew him. And they had put in a good word for me, so their word was good enough for him, I guess. And we just had a really short conversation. Next thing you know, I got a phone call. And, yeah.
So you never sang for it?
No.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Well, that's what a lot of English directors do. They just want to know who you are as a person.
Oh, because they have to work with you.
Yeah, I think so. And they look at your resume, or they talk to other directors or composers who've worked with us, and yeah, they figure it out.
What had you done prior to that show?
Let's see. I had done Guys and Dolls with Jerry Zaks. I had done The Grand Night from Singing, that was a Rogers and Hammerstein. I'd done Smitty and How to Succeed in Business with Matthew Broderick and Megan Mullally. That's where I met Jessica Stone, who directed Kimberly Timbo. I think those are the big things that I've done. Yeah, before.
Is there anything about Titanic that we should know before seeing this new production? Because I know that it went to London because one of my co-producers, Craig, is one of the producers on it.
Oh, no, it's been everywhere. You know, I mean, I've seen it in Polish, in Korean, in Japanese.
Is that fun?
Yeah, that's always very exciting. But you know what? I don't think there's anything we need to tell you. I mean, you think you know the story in Titanic, and I think that's, you know, what's funny about it is that when people go to a show, you know, and even if it's My Fair Lady, when it was My Fair Lady, and by the way, I was 10 years old. I don't mind. I was in 1955. I was 10 years old, living in Jersey City, New Jersey, and my mother said, "I'm going to take you to see a Broadway show." And she took me across the Hudson River, and I saw a show called My Fair Lady.
And it was your birth.
Julie was 10. Julie was 20. She was 10 years older than I was. And she came out, and I looked at my mother, and I said, "I want to do this." Oh, I knew it then. Oh, I was writing music then. And I said, that's what I want to do. I'll never forget it. Or any of them. I guess all of them. I was stunned that you could do that.
Vicky, what was your first show and what made
I
you want to do
thinking,
that?
I had a similar experience. When I was in 6th grade, a friend of mine had moved here from Dallas, and her parents, we were missing each other terribly, and their parents flew me up to New York for the weekend, and I saw Pippin with Ben Vereen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Irene, I think Irene Ryan was still in
Yes.
it. And am I saying her name right? Because I remember she had a
Joe Franz,
yes.
Michael Rupert.
Yes, that whole original cast. It was in the fall, so I was singing the original company.
That was the first show
We
we
went
saw.
to see Story Theater.
Paul Silk?
Paul Silk Story Theater. And the Russian circus or the dancing bears or something. It was jam-packed with shows, and when I left, something similar happened. I looked up at those people and I thought, I think I would like to make a living doing that. Yeah.
Next time I saw an incredible comedy soon after that, in the 1950s. No Time for Sergeants. I can't remember the name of the actor who was in it. And it was the funniest thing I ever saw in my life. But the thing is this, I thought that was normal.
I grew up thinking all that was normal. My
Yeah.
dad was an agent.
Well,
I saw a lot of musical theater growing up, and I was like, of course you walk and dance and sing down the street. Who doesn't do this? And I've always thought that way. I have to ask you guys both my favorite question. What song, or cycle of songs, describes who you are?
a song, you mean a song?
Like multiple songs.
Oh,
Like if you
multiple
made it-
songs, because there's also classical musical song cycles, and Beethoven did
Oh,
one,
yes.
and Schubert did one, and stuff like
Prokofiev.
that. Prokofiev did one. Okay, you can answer the first one.
I don't know. That's a tough one. I may have to come back to you.
But you could even be an album,
It
right?
can't be an album.
All right, so I mean, okay.
For more, it would have to be an album.
Well, no, I guess. Well, first of all, I think the scores of those early, in other words, the score of West Side Story was very influential. Well, My Fair Lady, I think, is the one. I still think the ultimate optimal musicals. The first one is My Fair Lady. For me, it was how profoundly the score and the lyrics created each person, and also the world of the UK at that time. How a Cockney girl could be so unique. How Higgins could be so like that. You know, how they sung made them. And now I didn't know that. I was just a kid, but I knew that instinctually. I couldn't describe the words about it and the words to it. But what I was learning was you show people what you are like by the way you speak, by how you react to something. Right? There's an explosion. One person screams and runs away. The other person goes, "Well, that's weird. And now you've got two characters because how you react to things. So I know something like acting is react. You know, and when you have one actor on stage throwing something out there that could be absolutely outrageous or absolutely absolutely not exceptional at all, and the other acting behaves or acts in a way that you would never have thought of it, that's character. And there's this language that we in the theater speak, whether it's music or lyrics or how we act, which literally creates life on stage. And I think it's a miracle. You know?
I do too.
And so that's like, I think that's what we love it more than anything else.
I thought of I don't know if it says if it's who I am, but I remember the album that I listened to the most growing up was Peter Pan. It was Mary Martin and Cyril Richard.
I loved it too.
And Cyril Richard was so hilarious. I mean, I had more fun playing his part really than Mary Martin's part. But I do love the lyrics to Neverland. I know a place where dreams are born and time is never planned. It's not on any chart. You must find it with your heart. Neverland. It's such a great marriage of voice.
So impressed.
But you know, the marriage of lyric and melody just stunned me. I can remember, and I had to listen to that song over and over again. Of course, I love the comic stuff. And I think it's you learning by listening to these great, great actors, right? It doesn't get much better than Mary Martin and Cyril Richard. And I loved that there was a woman playing the part of the little boy. I remember that made a huge impression on me.
Really?
Yes. Like, why wouldn't they cast a boy? They cast a woman, not even a young lady.
Yeah.
Oh no, growing up in Dallas, Texas, where things were like slightly behind the times, if I should say, in the 60s and 70s. I mean, like I had to have a woman, a fully grown woman playing a little boy. That to me was turning age on its head and turning sexism on its head. So for me, that show was pretty informative.
See, I grew up in California, so a lot of the stuff that other people have seen, I didn't actually see.
It's funny about this is because I saw it the first time, you saw it the next time. Because, you know what I'm saying? And we're both influenced by all of those scores, you know.
Maury, I have to brag about Maury. He is our, I think, one of, if not our greatest melodist.
I agree.
It's really, really hard to write a great melody, and it's getting harder. It's because it should be simple, but it's not. It's not at all.
I have to ask you 2 questions about the Peter Pan. Did you ever notice that the Peter Pan album had a smell to it that smelled like Neverland?
No. I never noticed that.
I did. I used to smell it because I thought it smelled like Neverland. And did you see Cyril Richard do Aladdin?
No.
Oh, really?
You have to Google. He does this song from a TV version of Aladdin. That's amazing. Really got those things. Okay, so we have to talk about December songs. How did this come about?
So Carnegie Hall had a 100th anniversary, their centennial, and so they thought, well, why don't we just commission new compositions on the occasion of our 100th anniversary, and then we'll perform them, right? So they commissioned a new symphony, a new string quartet, a new wind quintet.
Wow.
I knew everything, right? I knew a few whatever, right? And then they figured, because it was all like Carnegie Hall, classical music, and then they figured, I think they decided they were going to go slumming. Let's ask somebody to just write some songs. So they said, will you write some songs for Carnegie Hall? And so of course, Carnegie Hall wants you to write some songs. Good heavens. And so I thought, well, so maybe they came to the Broadway guy, or maybe they just came to somebody of the melodist or whatever. So you know what, I'm going to fool them because I'm a professor and I'm a musicologist. And I've been a student of some of the greatest song cycles that have ever been written. There was a song cycle, which originally, well, actually, one of the first ones was created by Ludwig Beethoven. He was a great symphonist, but he wrote a group of songs that was sort of like a love story to his beloved, and he wrote it for a voice and a symphony orchestra called "To My Far Off Beloved, An die Ferne Geliebte." And I guess after him, Franz Schubert said, "Gee, what a good idea! I'm going to write a group of songs for a voice and a piano, and I'm going to tell a story. And I'm going to get my friend, the poet Wilhelm Müller, to write the story." And he wrote the words. So he wrote a story about a young man, a disconsolate, desolate, broken-hearted young man wandering the Vienna woods. His girlfriend dumped him. He's been jilted, and it's freezing cold, and it's called A Winter's Journey. Winterreise, A Winter's Journey. And the opening song starts with the lyrics, "I came here a stranger, and I'm leaving a stranger." Oh my God! And that's the happy part. And
that's
it gets sadder and sadder and sadder, and it's heartbreaking. It's the most beautiful music you've ever heard. And then Franz Schumann wrote one, and then Brahms wrote one, and then there's Das Lied von der Erde wrote. And so I thought, I'm going to write
Maury
I'll
Yeston
write a
wrote
song
one.
cycle because it's got classical things, and not only that, but the style of music that I like, it'll have so many different styles. It'll represent almost every kind of different music that was on the stage of Carnegie Hall. So I wrote it for voice and piano, and we recorded it, and it became.
Did you always know Vicky was going to do it?
I didn't know who was going to. I just wrote it, right? And then we initially recorded it with Andrea Maccavici, right?
Oh.
And then it started. It's been translated to German, Polish, Italian, Spanish, Japanese. I mean, all over the world. And it's been done. And then people started doing it. It was recorded a number of times in English, and then once in French. Isabelle Georges did it in French. Edison, and it's very French. and then in German, it sounds like Schubert.
Maybe it's the sound of
and,
the voice.
and in Polish it's very dark and very sad. And so in the same way, that the opening song that Schubert wrote was, "I came here a stranger, and I'm leaving a stranger." The end of, as my song opens with opening line, but the next line is, "No one really knew me. No one really knew me then. No one knows me now." That was, and I keep on making references to Schubert that way to thank him, and of course he's my inspiration. And so it had been done so often, and I had a dream. And my dream was that one day, if we possibly could, I would like to do this with a full orchestra, inspired by Beethoven having done the first one with a full orchestra. And it was my dream to do it, and it was my dream that the only person I could ever think of who would be up to that task and who would just hit it out of the park would be my friend, Victoria Clark, who I've known since forever. And
you knew her voice.
Of course. And we did it. And we did, and that's how it happened. We did it. And we had a ball, and Ted Sperling conducted it. And it was a ball. And I just think, for me, it's just one of my favorite things I've ever been involved in at all. You and Teddy and me doing December songs.
Tell me your memories of doing this.
One of my favorite memories was the day your son came up from Washington to sit, and I've known Jake since he was little, right? Little Jake.
Yeah.
The more he used to haul around to the rehearsal rooms, right?
Yes.
Didn't he just come back from Switzerland?
Yes. Jake, he's editor of Science Magazine now.
So I walk in after a take. I think it was "I Had a Dream About You, We Were Together Again." I can't remember which song it was, and he was he just wasn't able to talk very much. Not Maury. Maury can always talk.
No, Jake.
And he said, I've heard these songs so many times, and it's so moving to hear you sing them. And I don't know why that touched him, but it touched me that he was able to say that to me. And I wish that my son had been there too the same day, and then they would have been able to sit in their room.
Jumping out of his skin. I mean, don't forget, this is a kid who lives in a house where he hears the same phrase from a song being written over and over again 10,000 times. And he knows every note of everything I've ever written. Because he's incredibly musical. And that was one of the great thrills of his life, being in the studio.
That was a really special day.
Yes, very special.
And we had a great orchestra. We had really, really good musicians. It was very special.
What was your favorite song to sing on the album? And why?
That's a really tough question. It's like choosing between your babies.
I know,
But I do like I Had a Dream About You. I love my grandmother's love letters. Maybe that's the one Jake liked. Maybe that was the one. And also, I love Please Let's Not Even Say Hello. That is a killer. The melody, that whole song is.
Yeah, that's a
very sweeping,
endless connected melodic line from one to the other.
And it's very arranging, but the way the melody rises and falls reflects what's happening to this woman in that moment, and it's very full emotionally. So
how did it get to PBS? Wasn't it filmed by PBS?
Not that I know of.
No, I think so. No. No, that must have been Alan Menken.
No. I think I just saw this on YouTube.
We did film little bits and pieces.
Wait, I guess they must have filmed some of sections of it.
Yeah.
See, the thing about
I watched it the other day.
When you ask a question like, "What's your favorite one?" It's such a tough. I don't know where I got the first one from, but it was. Someone was asked that, and they said, "Well, it's like the fingers of your hand. Which one would you lose?"
Yeah.
Or like the children,
But
which one
there's
would you
also.
lose?
We have to talk about Larry Hochman, who orchestrated it, and his orchestrations are so sublime. And there's an orchestration of "By the River." That's crazy. You actually hear the water boiling.
I actually think that's
and rushing.
But you see,
and it's,
we should talk about Larry. So Larry and I have worked together a lot. I mean, when you have a team in your life, and so the great thing about Larry is that he and I share one thing in common, which is we're both schooled in classical music, and he's schooled in classical orchestration, and the December songs are very much influenced by classical forms, right? They're inspired by Schubert, etc. And so Larry was the perfect person to translate that with referencing the classical element of it in the sound, but also the romantic, because the romantic people like Debussy, are specialized in musical tone painting. When Debussy writes a great symphonic piece called La Mer, the sea. Honestly, you see the blanket on the
foam.
Yeah, you see the foam. You smell the dead crabs, right? and Larry does that. Larry gives you the smell and the taste of being there in the same way that because people like Larry underscore movies, and the music puts him there in the same way. And I think his orchestration of December Stars is truly masterful in that way. He is doing everything that I'm doing. It's the three of us. It's what the music is, it's what the words are saying, it's how Larry painted it in the orchestra, and how Vicky brings it to life.
I am so sad because our time is up.
Right.
I want to ask 2 really quick questions. Vicky, directing, are you going to be doing more of this? Because it's really seriously wonderful.
Yes. I don't know when or how or what exactly. I can't talk about it just yet, but something is coming up next year. And I mean, here's what I've learned. My life, I'm just open to telling stories. However I can best be used, and whoever. I often don't see projects coming. I never saw Kimberly or Kimbo coming. Janine Tesori and Jessica Stone approached me about it. I wasn't planning it. So I've stopped trying to plan. I let people know what I'm working on, and then when friends call up and ask me to do things, if I can, I'll be there. That's my philosophy, and it's always great to spend time with Maury, because I always learn.
I know about your Brooklyn musical. How's it coming?
It's going great. So I'm running a show for Japan too. Listen, it's like every day you get up in the morning, you have something to do. And all I can tell you is that I can't wait to do something more. We can't break up the band. We got to do something else together.
I am so thrilled to be presenting live from the Hotel Edison. Times Square Chronicles presents. My guests have been Victoria Clark and Maury Yeston. I'd like to thank Ramel Lopez for giving us the Hotel Edison to film. I'd love to thank Magda Katz, who makes us look good and sound good, and Craig Horsley for being part of my producing team. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you next week.